friends. Welcome back, Trevor May. How you been, man?
I am great. How you guys doing? Thanks for having me back.
Fantastic, dude. We need some pitcher perspective, so it's great to have you back. We're ready to go today. Just do a little quickie promo. Hit up the FT Leadoff newsletter. It is up there for the world to consume. There'll be a new one on Thursday, so make sure you check that out as well. We'd love the signups. It is free, so if you can handle it, it is free $99. Let's get right to biz because we have a lot to cover today. So let's charge the damn mound. Gotta love when there's a play that goes down in a game and then you happen to have that player lined up to be a guest on the show.
Well, Sal Frelick, welcome. Good luck. But, yeah, what happened yesterday was crazy. But it's not unprecedented what happened with the strikeout. And as soon as the catcher is hit by the bat, it's the umpire's job to call the ball dead, and that's what happens. It costs – I mean, it didn't – not the reason the Brewers lost the game, but it's the reason Pat Murphy got sent to the showers early.
On the broadcast, Kratz, they were like, damn, can we catch a break? Because, you know, obviously we just covered them yesterday with the Aaron Judge slide too.
Yeah, they might have needed to keep the – I get it. The Aaron Judge slide caused some more runs, but 15 in back-to-back games, that's not the break you're looking for. You need to catch a breaking ball. That's what you need to catch.
True. All right, so let's get into the play. Trevor, you want to give us a little mini breakdown of what you saw from it?
Yeah, swinging strike three, balls dropped. On the backswing, it turns out that someone gets hit on the back of the head, happens to be the catcher, and the run where Frelick comes home, would have scored the tying run, go-ahead run, right?
Tying
run, and gets called dead. Batter gets called out, and we're all very confused. I to be honest, I'm pitching right there, and I'm like, I do have no idea what that rule is and how this is this like a umpire discretion type thing? Like if you see it, you see it, or you don't. You got to call it in time. Like you can't review it later. Like I would have been very, very confused out there. Thank God we have two catchers on the show because I cannot wait for this to get broken down because I have no idea how I should be even reacting. But I'm definitely frustrated if I'm a pitcher.
Oh, you should be happy for the pitcher. If you're the pitcher, you're happy because the run didn't score.
I'm definitely happy. I feel like I'm like, wait, so this is good? Like I'm standing there immediately assuming that it's against me because that seems to be, that seems to be how pretty much every rule change has been recently. But then I'm happy. But to get thrown out in this situation too, like I'm hot if I'm the manager too. So like just let it eat. I mean, at this point, I'm like, why stay in this game right now? I'm tired of this.
Yeah, I mean, it was the bottom of the ninth, and clearly you see the ball hit the catcher, the bat hit the catcher, the ball is already passed, but that's the rule. As soon as the catcher's hit by the bat, the ball's dead. And, I mean, it sucks for the Brewers. Pat Murphy's first ejection as manager.
It took that long? Damn, Pat.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he's doing, but yeah, I mean, listen, it's one of those funky rules. I mean, I've been hitting the head a bunch of times by a bat, and it's always dead right away. Especially, like in that situation, I mean, it helped the Rays out big time.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom of the ninth, tying run.
Supposedly, the rule is that it's not automatically dead right away. If it manipulates the catcher's inability to make the play. Whether it's a throw, whether it is going to chase the ball, I don't think it changed how the catcher was going after it. Did he hit him? Absolutely, he hit him. But that ball had already squirted by him, and he did not like inhibit him from like, I can't go get the ball. If he had like gotten hit in the head and fallen right down, yes, automatically dead. But it's inadvertent contact that changes it's either not trajectory, but outcome of the play. And so he doesn't need to call that. It's not an automatic, nope, dead ball. Because like if there's a throw and you get hit and you throw the guy out, play stands, nobody goes back to any positions. So it's a judgment call. And the reason Pat Murphy hasn't gotten thrown out yet, because they keep winning all their games. So When you're sliding into second place, then it's time to get thrown out.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, you can say that it didn't affect the play, but the umpire has to make that decision like this, right? All he hears is whack on the back of the head. The catcher goes forward. At that time, he doesn't know where the ball is. He thinks the catcher might have it in his glove. So he's already, if you watch that replay, he's already going like this, pointing, and then he realizes the ball got past. But by then, he's already got his hands up and he's already pointing. So it's a split-second decision. And the umpire, I mean, he made the right one for the amount of time he was given, which is literally that. But watch, if we can show that replay again, the close-up would literally, he gets hit in the back of the head. He goes forward. The umpire's already going right there. See, he's already going like this before he even realized where the ball is. And how does he know, the umpire, that by him getting hit in the back of the head, that's not what let the ball go through past him, right?
Not live.
He doesn't know.
Not live. But that call right away is swing and miss. But it's not an out call. He goes to the right.
Boom.
He sees how he reacts, and then he calls it. He saw him fall forward, and then he calls it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's pointing at him as he's like, oh, so he doesn't know that ball he didn't catch it, and then the ball got knocked out of his glove by, like right there. He doesn't know where the ball is, right? So he's thinking, oh, shoot, the catcher's out. He's out, the ball's dead. Nothing changes. I mean, as much as it sucks for the Brewers, I felt like it was the right call.
In the moment, for sure.
Yeah.
Who was that, Ryan Addington?
Yeah, and you can't review it.
And even if you could review it, you can't say like, boom, it hit him on the head, and he wasn't, he wouldn't have been able to go straight back to get the ball. Instead, he went in like kind of a curve to go back and get the ball. To me, anytime there's contact with the catcher, it should be automatic. Yes, play's dead, nobody advances, all that good stuff, but that's not how it's normally called, or that's not how it's always called. To me, that's what it should be.
How'd they do, Trevor? You feel like you're...
I actually, now that I'm watching it and seeing like how quickly the reaction was, it's one of those things you can't retroactively like change your mind on. So it's the better way to do it is just you see something, call it, and then deal with it from there. I think he did the best with the information he had at that time. It's almost like you can't assume the double play either, right? So maybe all of the situations, or all of the environment shows that it probably would have been done. You can't guarantee that. It's the same thing. So you can't guarantee that he would have been able to make the play better had he were not been hit. So you just kind of do your best. And to be honest, I'd say we have more issues where umpires are acting a little bit too slowly. So like, if anything, hats off to being as quick as you were and just like making a judgment as fast as you can and being on top of it. And so it was just like so there wasn't a bunch of confusion and then he like said something that's worse. So if anything, it's unfortunate for the timing of the game and the situation, but that's part of the human. That's the part that I like about having human umpires is that like that kind of stuff. That's a skill you have to learn, and I thought he did a good job at least with information. But I think I'm with Kratzy on this one too. Just maybe we just make this a little bit more of a black and white situation, and so that no one can argue, and then we're not getting guys thrown out and having to worry about all this stuff. Like it's just it's dead because it just doesn't happen that often. It's rare enough to where it's something that you don't have to worry about that much. But then again, you just watch umpire or watch catchers like trying to like get in the way of the swing or something. Like that could be like guys trying to lean over and get hit. Who knows? Maybe we see a guy just like sacrificing his glove or his helmet one day because he knows the guy's got a long backswing like Cueto or something.
I mean, I remember having this happen to me twice, like where it actually affected something. Once it was in Toronto. I've told this story. Moises Sierra, was that his name?
Moises Sierra.
Yeah. He hit me, and it was a ball in the dirt, and the ball trickled out in front, and the umpire didn't call it. And then so he was running inside the line, and I just smoked him right in the back, and he was called out. And I was like to the umpire, I'm like, dude, like he hit me he's like, I know, but it didn't affect anything. I go, well, he's out now. And I mean, I hit him. I mean, I literally crow hopped and through it. I mean, he was way in the line, and I was like, he hit me in the head. It's payback. And I didn't even care. I mean, right between his numbers. And he just went, oh! When you hit a guy, Trevor, and you just hear him go, you hear like the life go out of him, and they just go, ooh! Like you just, ooh! And then and then the umpire's like, you're out!
Yeah.
And what was two?
And the other time was in the LCS. One time when I was with the Cardinals, we were playing the Giants. There was a ball in the dirt, and there was a runner on second, and I blocked it. And I forget who was hitting. They hit me, and I went down. I mean, I was unconscious. I don't know how I got up and finished the game. I was, I stumbled, and the umpire, oh no, dead ball, go back to second.
Was there acting involved?
Maybe a little bit.
A little bit.
Maybe a little bit.
AJ, I can see you taking a dive on a stolen base where somebody steps slightly across the plate and you taking a dive.
Oh, all the time. I try that all the time. Especially when I was with the White Sox, they didn't care about holding runners. If that guy got close to me, I was like, ah!
Did it ever work?
All the time. Umpire's like, interference, go back. He's out. Yep, perfect. Thank you, sir.
Big guys have a tough time selling charges in basketball. It's always the little point guard, so you got to be a little point guard if you're able to sell the charge.
You got to be committed to it. Listen, you got to be committed to selling it too. And you can't be worried about the repercussions of it not getting called. You have to sell it, own it, and it worked. It worked a few times for me.
It's flopping in baseball, right?
It's flopping. I was accused of flopping by Giants fans, and my head still hurts from that backswing.
I have to Google that, Joan, for sure.
Still has whiplash. Still might file a lawsuit.
I'm thinking about suing whoever the hitter was because I have a couple, C3 and 4 and a little bit messed up.
Yep. And I have a good lawyer. Every billboard on my way to here. All right, let's get to some other pitching performances. So we had multiple no-hitters going on in different games, and the results of those games were interesting. So let's go to the Mariners first. It was Max Fried against Bryce Miller, both pitching brilliantly. Fried left with 6 no-hit innings, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. He was at 100 pitches. And here's David O'Brien with the tweet. Would need at least 120 to 125 minimum to go for a no-no. No way they do that. Pitched a 92-pitch shutout in his last start, 15 scoreless in his past 2 starts. So he gets removed. Eventually, actually, his team lost. Miller was awesome too, 10 strikeouts in 7 innings, and the Mariners pitching staff right now is just on a ridiculous run. They have allowed 18 earned runs in their last 17 starts. And actually, this was something, Trevor, that we all predicted if we look big picture for a moment. We all looked at the Mariners and said, this is probably the best starting staff 1 through 5 or 6 or 7 heading into the year, and no surprise.
Yeah, this isn't surprising at all. Even with Hancock stepping in there, he's done a nice job. It's funny, the guys I think that are carrying this, Gilbert and Miller. I thought that maybe Castillo would come out a little hotter, though he has pitched much better lately. They got all kinds of. They're all different too in a little way. They're all power pitchers in their own way, but like we got Kirby, who's one of the best command pitchers I've ever seen. In this era or others, and he throws 97. So like, it's scary. They throw in that park. Now they have the reputation. It is weird because it's similar looks too, and a lot of righties like guys throw 97. Usually you want to mix it up. You want to have some funky lefty in there somewhere, but then they got their bullpen too. It's no surprise like Ryan Stanek joins and is like been lights out, right? They got something cooking over there. In Seattle, they know what they're doing, but maybe we knew they're gonna be good, maybe not. 18 runs in 17 starts good, but when they're striking out as much as they are, their lineup this is the kind of pitching performances you need to win games. So fortunately, they're doing it at the right time.
Yeah, good thing they can pitch because they can't hit for nothing.
Boy, they almost blew it. They almost meted that game. They almost mets that game too. I mean, you have performances like that and you almost lose. Thank goodness for the huge offseason expenditure of Mitch Garver. But talking about their pitching, I talked to a guy just last week who was with the Rays, who was with the Mariners, and who was with the with the Guardians. And he's seen all of their pitching algorithms and what they expect out of their minor league pitchers and how they're teaching them, training them, and you can't move to the next level. And their algorithm and their expectations are almost mirror images of each other. So it's no surprise that these teams just keep churning out pitchers from the minor leagues.
We'll talk to Ryan Divish soon about the Mariners as well. And yeah, the Mets did Met last night. Might as well just give that a quickie mention in case you missed that game.
That's like the ultimate.
Ultimate. Wow. Good for you. Second dad joke of the year by you.
Yeah.
That's it? Just 2?
Surely I've given more than 2 at this point.
Don't call me Shirley.
Well, by the way, in case I didn't mention it, there was a combined no-hitter through 7 innings. Through 6 innings, right?
6,
In Seattle. With the Mets, Luis Severino was freaking dealing and ended up giving him 8 innings. He had a no-hitter going into the 8th, right? Or was it into the 7th?
Yeah,
into the
8th, and he gave up he walked a guy and then gave up a bloop hit.
Yeah, broken up by the Dansby Swanson. Broke his bat too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Single. And then Edwin Diaz gives up a 2-out, 2-run home run to Christopher Morel, who destroyed that pitch. Was that a sinker?
It sank when it went into the stands. I don't know what it was when he let it go.
It wasn't on purpose. If it were a sinker, it was not on purpose.
Yeah, it was a heater. Too much of the plate. And Joey Wendell made a tough play too defensively. He tried to turn 2 on a ground ball that would have ended the inning. Instead, they could have gone home, right?
Mm-hmm.
And instead, the game ends up being tied. Morel wins it against Edwin Diaz. Jameson Taillon was great. Anyway, one more. You called the White Sox-Twins game. We might not have time for that later.
Yeah. Listen, 2 good pitching performances. I mean, Garrett Crochet made 1 mistake, Carlos Santana homer, and then Joe Ryan gave up 2 runs, the first 3 hitters of the game, and then just mowed after that. But my question for Trevor is, Garrett Crochet was 77 pitches, I believe, retired the last 11 hitters into the 5th inning, and they took him out. Like, would you be mad if you were the starter and you're 77 pitches in and they're like, yeah, that's good enough? Especially, I mean, he was dominating.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. We're in a weird spot, I think, now in baseball where it's not about going out and eating innings. Like that used to be something I was always told going up through the minors. Like at the end of the day, if you have the ability to like amass innings over a season, you're going to be valuable, no matter how like the ERA and all the stats shake out. If you lead the league in innings, you're doing a good job. And that's just not what's being incentivized anymore. So I understand Crochet's had injury issues. He came straight up from the minor leagues or straight up from being drafted, very little time in the minor leagues, and has not thrown a lot of innings in any year. So there is a limit there, but like, unless he knew, if you don't know, and sometimes guys don't know, this actually happened to us last year with JP Sears got kind of blindsided once after a 5-inning start that he didn't know that he was on that 5-inning through 59 pitches. So then the bullpen gets blindsided when the starting pitcher doesn't know. And that's usually not a good recipe for success. I believe we were talking about this before the show too. They were short in the pen. They brought in the long guy and then threw him for 1 inning, which doesn't make any sense. So I think top to bottom, you're a little scratching your head, and then you're probably going and ask the pitching coach, like, hey, can we get a heads up down there in the pen, and can everyone know that this is happening if it's happening? Because we understand that it does, but man, this 5-inning stuff, like I understand trying to slowly expand guys' ability to throw innings in a year, but it's got to be, you got to still play the game, and I'm terrified that in 5 years we just won't have another like Max Scherzer type that's like, pry this ball out of my cold dead fingers. Like those guys they won't ever have had the opportunity to do that. So they'll never assume that they're going to get that opportunity. And we'll have like comments kind of like that where we had the big thing about George Kirby last year, where he's like, I thought I was going to be out after the 6th because that's what it's been all year. And suddenly we need more out of me. Like, just, let's be consistent so I can get in that mind space. So, but yeah, the guy shoving like that, honestly, just get 1 more inning out of him. See if we can do. He's retired 11 straight guys. You can't be more dialed. I think that's the time where you want those guys to get their opportunity to get that 1 more inning to see that they can do it. That's really important for development of a young pitcher.
I think that's the biggest edge the Mariners have. They have a bunch of dudes that'll go deeper into games, and then people are like, oh, their bullpen's good every year. Yeah, no shit. They don't tire them out because a lot of their pitchers are going deeper into games. They have command control. They're more efficient. It's not a secret. Obviously, they're doing a good job of pitching development and finding the right guys, but they're also not killing them, and that matters. Before we get to Ken, we did dig up the archives.
This hurts my head to see.
Confirmed that AJ does have a strong case. So call 1-800 you got smacked ish. Ooh,
Oh
wow.
man, I don't know how I survived. Look, runner goes back. Who is it? Oh, Shelby Miller. Watch this. Look at the contact right here.
Oh my
And
God.
then back.
Oh!
Love the falling
dead.
back too. That's the best.
Oh,
dead.
Travis
Oh, dead.
Ishikawa.
Yeah, he had a walk-off homer to end that series, so I think he repaid us.
Karma. Karma.
Baseball gods.
On you.
Bravery like that is rarely seen on the baseball field for me to stay in that game.
Did they ask you where you were? Did you even know
I did.
what was going
they asked
on?
me where I was, and I said, I think I'm in Japan. But they're like, no, you're in San Francisco. Oh, wait.
San Francisco.
They came out and gave me the old.
No, they didn't.
Of course they
Oh,
did.
they have to.
This is like right when concussion protocol was kind of starting. The trainer comes out and goes, and you're like, what? Follow my finger. Okay. Now what? Where are you? Do you know what day it is? Oh, no, I never know what day it is. It's season. I have no idea what day it is.
Today
Where the heck's Yachty? Where the heck's
Yachty was hurt. Yachty had pulled his something
Oblique?
in here.
That's why you guys lost.
Yeah.
Trust me, if you ask Coach Mike Matheny, he'll tell you that.
That's why I said it.
Let's bring in our first guest today, but really our friend. FT Senior Insider Ken Rosenthal caught that little clip. Do you remember that, Ken?
I believe we were doing that game at Fox. If I'm not mistaken. I'm not positive about that, but I believe those theatrics were live on Fox television. Before AJ was a different kind of actor on Fox, but that was different.
That's the only way that AJ gets to work with Ken is when he was playing. Otherwise, he's on the B reel.
It's true. It's true. Ken gets to go on location. We get nobody. But we got Scherzer. Listen, Saturday we had Scherzer and Lodolo. I mean, Ken can't get those two on.
That's a big.
So I think we win.
That's a big pitching matchup right there. So
pretty good.
On the pitching front, Ken, I know you wrote this morning in the windup about free agents offering the best value, and let's focus on the pitching side of things. There have actually been quite a few gems. I know we're a month in, but some teams did really well with signings, and they weren't necessarily the biggest money signings.
Well, Scott, you're absolutely right. First of all, we're 1 month in, so to judge any of this is frankly premature. At the same time, it's interesting to me what we've seen so far. A guy like Jordan Hicks, a guy like Reynaldo Lopez, those are converted starters, converted relievers, guys who are now starting, and they're off to great starts. Now, how long they can sustain it, I don't know. Shota Imanaga is another one, and he was a guy that got $53 million over 4 years. Wasn't the greatest contract, right? But at the same time, he has come out and performed in a huge way, better than Yamamoto for the Dodgers. So, again, what does it all mean? Probably not all that much. We have to judge these deals over time, not 1 month. But it's interesting to me that the converted relievers have done well. And you look at Seth Lugo, that's the last name on that list. Seth Lugo was another converted reliever who became a starter. That was last year with the San Diego Padres, and he's carrying it forward here. Now, if you go back to last year with Lugo, he threw 146 innings. I would imagine that if the Braves got 146 out of Lopez and the Giants got 146 out of Hicks, that they would be thrilled. So we'll see how this goes, but it's just been interesting to me so far to see some of these pitchers who did not get monster deals perform at such a high level. And I want to mention one other player who is not on that list because he's not a pitcher, but my goodness, guys, Justin Turner. 1 year, $13 million, 2 home runs last night. His OPS is around 950. You can't get much better than that.
Ken, I have to say, you sound like Peter Bendix from the Marlins. It's too early. It's too early to start judging how crappy we are. So, I mean, I'm
not too early to start judging the Marlins. It's too early to start judging free agent contracts.
I'm just saying, you sound just like the head of baseball.
I know where you're going with this, AJ. Don't go there.
Why not? You said it's too early. It's too early. Our catchers have the worst OPS in the history of the world, but it's too early to judge. You know, their career 220.
Yeah, but those catchers that he's talking about aren't particularly great players to begin with. That's the difference here. So I know Peter Bendix has taken a lot of heat for that press conference. And listen, the way this team has collapsed after making the playoffs last year, they deserve a lot of heat. And I've written about this. I wrote about it in the offseason. You sign one free agent coming off a playoff appearance. And I know they had some things go their way, 1-run record, etc. But at the same time, hey, you got to try. And those are the teams that you can get behind a little bit, the teams that are trying. The Royals, the Tigers, the Reds. These teams now are starting to push forward, whereas the Marlins were in position to do that, and they took a step back. Now, is that Peter Bendix's decision? I highly doubt it. It's probably the owner's decision, Bruce Sherman, and Peter Bendix was hired to execute that vision to try to make the Marlins more like Tampa Bay. Well, to this point, we've seen only one Tampa Bay. And with Miami, what they've done is extremely disappointing. It's anti-competitive, honestly, compared to these other teams that have tried to build up a little bit and put themselves in position to get a third wild card like the Marlins did last year. It's not that complicated.
So, Ken, a couple things that stood out to me are, number one, the way that they basically describe that it's going to take time, as if there's a rebuild going on here, but you just made the playoffs. The other part, I heard him on the interview on Sirius with Bowden and Duquette, our friends on there, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he essentially said that they have all the resources that they need, and the reason that they didn't make many moves was because they just wanted to roll with what they had. So there's two layers here. One, of course, that's why I'm calling this out, Ken. Yeah. One part is what they're doing is wrong because you're rebuilding again. But two is you need to be transparent. Miami's dealt with a lot of crap for a long time. They're like, please don't tell us that. We know that's not true. You didn't want to do anything. You wanted to roll with the same exact team. Like, that's making everyone feel stupid.
I agree, Scott. And first of all, you want to talk about transparency? If you want to start there, and we should, then say what this is. We're rebuilding. We're not competing this year. We're rebuilding. Teams never want to admit this, of course. Oh, we've got a chance to win the World Series. No, you don't. And if you're taking that direction and you have a vision long term and maybe it works out, okay, that's fine. People can live with that. I don't know that they can live with a less than transparent vision, which this seems to be. As for being happy with their team, Jorge Soler left their team. This is just one example. Who did you replace him with? I know they acquired Josh Bell at the deadline last year. Well, he's our power now. Come on. And this is the kind of thing that if you're paying attention, if you're a fan of the Marlins, if you're a fan of the game, it kind of drives you nuts. And it shouldn't be this way. And this is the problem I have with them. One free agent for $5 million, Tim Anderson, after last year. They thought their pitching was going to be good, and it should have been good. They got crushed by injuries. I get that. But at the same time, man, they had offensive questions up and down. They did not address them.
So if the Marlins aren't going to try to win, we already know that. Do the Guardians get some of their players? Do the Guardians get to trade with some of their players? Because the Guardians want to win. Whether they spent or not, they're winning. Are we ready for a parade, as Mr. Rosenthal said?
Well, honestly, their offseason wasn't much better than the Marlins. And it was kind of a curious offseason, to say the least. They've had some good things happen. Some bad things happen too, frankly, during this great run they're on. Bieber getting hurt, Gavin Williams not coming back just yet. Those are pretty big developments for a team that is in their payroll position. Now, are we ready for a parade? No, we're not ready for a parade. They've got huge starting pitching questions. But I will say this for the Guardians. Now, their fans are rightly upset often with their lack of spending and the way they go about it. But like the Rays, they have a track record of building competitive teams. I would have put the A's in this equation too before they started tearing it down. The A's had a track record of being competitive, even though they didn't have high payrolls. Those teams kind of get the benefit of the doubt to some degree. The Marlins do not. They have no track record. And last year, let's put this in historical context, they go out and make the playoffs for the first time in a full season. They made it in 20. In a full season for the first time since they won the World Series in 2003. That is something to build on. And they, again, took a step back. The Guardians are a different story. They do compete every year, some years better than others. And granted, it's in a weak division, but they revamped their hitting program. And it's amazing to me how stressing hitting the ball hard can make a difference in an offense like theirs. They didn't stress it before. They were a contact-oriented team. Went into spring training and said, listen, let's change it up a little bit. Focus on hitting the ball hard. Let's go. And my gosh, they've done it. Jose Ramirez, of course, one of the most underrated players in the game. Josh Naylor coming on, and he is one of the most underrated players in the game as well, in kind of a different way. So they've got some good things going on there, and in Stephen Vogt's first year, it's pretty impressive.
Hey, Ken, just check your phone because I think Peter Bendix is online too. Just saying.
Okay, thanks, AJ. Appreciate it.
Ken has 2 lines. Ken has 2 lines on his phone. That's pretty cool, Ken.
Believe it. He's got multiple phones.
Yeah, how do you even do that? Ken, before we let you go, I do have one quick question. I think that we'd be remiss if we didn't mention this guy, Stephen Vogt's first year with the Guardians. We know they have great player development and a pitching system and all that kind of stuff, but there seems to be something culture related too. How much do you think that Stephen Vogt taking the helm there has contributed to their success this year, that clubhouse? I don't know if you spent any time in there, but what do you think he means to them so far?
Trevor, I haven't spent a lot of time with them, so I really can't say for sure. But clearly, what's interesting to me about Vogt and Pat Murphy in Milwaukee is that these guys replaced pretty well-known managers, very accomplished managers who were known for establishing a certain culture and guiding teams that played above themselves. And yet these teams are both doing it even with the new managers, the first-time managers, Murphy and Vogt. So that's intriguing to me. And I don't know if it's just kind of baked into the organization to a certain degree, or if these guys as well are having that kind of effect. Stephen Vogt, as you guys all know, is one of the great people in the game, humble and yet confident. He's got all the qualities that you would want. So I am sure, without being there, that yes, he's having a pronounced effect on them and a positive effect on them. But I can't say exactly how that goes because guess what, guys? We can't measure the impact of culture. Now, some people will tell us, because we can't measure the impact of culture, that it really doesn't matter. But everyone who has a clue about the game knows that it really does matter, and it matters a whole lot.
Ken, you're talking about overachieving. You're talking about all this stuff. The Cardinals have been a team for a year and a month now. Have been disappointing, I guess, to be nice. And then Nolan Arenado comes out and says, "Oh, Mason Wynn, he inspired me to get back to trying to catch every ball." Like, is this a sign? Because we've heard it now. Mason Wynn said, "Oh, I had to check," and he pushed Brandon Crawford when they brought him in. It pushed me, right? And then last year they kind of had a lackluster year, and they were like, "We need more veteran leadership." So is this just an example of what's wrong in St. Louis? Like, as a veteran player, I mean, listen, you bring in a young kid, and you'd be like, "Yeah, he's going for everything." You're like, "Yeah, he's got great energy," But to hear a guy say, "Well, man, he inspired me to get back to what I was doing before," it's an interesting quote to me.
It was really interesting to me too, AJ, and I was the one who was interviewing Arenado and talking to him about Mason Wynn. And I had asked him, "Hey, what's it like playing alongside him?" That was the question. And his answer was along the lines of what you said. I didn't take it as a negative toward Arenado. The way I took it was he's a veteran player who over the years has kind of grown into his ways and kind of maybe needed a jolt. And that's what he was admitting. I needed a little kick in the butt, and this kid's given it to me without doing it intentionally. It's just watching him play and being alongside him. It kind of makes me feel like, hey, I got to go a little harder. And he made the point to say, I've always gone for balls hard. That's never been a problem. 10 Gold Gloves would attest to that. But we talk about the impact of energy in the clubhouse. This goes back to culture a little bit. Energy can mean a lot. And sometimes young players bring that in ways that can really transform a team a little bit. I don't know that Mason Wynn is transforming the Cardinals, so to speak, but he's certainly helping Arenado, and it does help at times to have this kind of mix. So I guess what I'm saying is maybe the Cardinals had gotten a little stale, and maybe Wynn's energy is helping them reach a different level.
All right, last one here. The Blue Jays. Are we too close? I feel like every time you're on, we always ask Ken Rosenthal a Blue Jay question. But are we too soon to think about a teardown of the Blue Jays? Because there's some intriguing pieces on that team that a lot of teams might want to have.
I got asked this on Fair Territory, and I said, acting like Peter Bendix, according to AJ, that it was too early to make that judgment. It still is too early, and the Blue Jays have a couple of months before the deadline to really assess who they are, and you can't assess just yet. But at the same time, if they do not perform to their potential, if they are kind of hanging around 500 or even below at the deadline, I don't care how close they are to a wild card, at some point you've got to look yourselves in the mirror as a franchise and say, okay, where are we going here? Are we going forward with this group? Because this group has, like all teams, a limited shelf life. Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette are free agents after next year, after 2025. They haven't signed yet. I'm not even sure the Blue Jays want to go long-term with Guerrero after what they've seen the last couple of years. And because they haven't signed yet, at some point you have to make a hard call on them. They have some other players as well approaching free agency either this year or the next. So it depends how they're playing. And I was just looking this up, guys. The Mets last year, when they started tearing it down, when they made the first trade with David Robertson, that was July 27th. The deadline was August 1st. They were 48 and 54 at that point. 48 and 54. They were about 7 games out of the wild card. You kind of knew who they were. If the Jays are in that position, yes, they have to look at tearing it down. If they're 500 or a little bit above and within striking distance of the third wild card, I don't know that you can give up. I don't know that you should give up in this expanded playoff system because we've seen teams get in like the Diamondbacks did last year, and even with 84 wins, they did some big things in October. The Jays have invested a lot in this team. They've been waiting for years for this team to come together. They're not going to simply relinquish that very easily.
All right, Ken, well, sorry, really quick. I know Erik said last one, but I have to ask this. What would it look like? Like, who would be on the list to move? Would it be one of their starters? Because their starters are super valuable, obviously. Bo Bichette is probably not the one, but, I mean, would they move a Springer? Would they move a Kiermaier? Would they possibly move Vlad? Alejandro Kirk has some value. Justin Turner's on a 1-year deal. I mean, they have pieces. They have bullpen. Romano would be a nice fit in a lot of places.
All of the above. If you're going to do this, you do it. And maybe you hold on to Bichette and still try to sign him. Although, again, it hasn't happened yet, so maybe it's not going to happen. Kikuchi, I believe, don't quote me on this, I believe he's free after this year. So he would be one of them. Jordan Romano, maybe one more year. These guys are approaching free agency. It's not like they're first year of ARB or anything like that. So, yeah, you'd have to look at all of that. But, again, they're going to want to see how their team plays. And if you look at the East right now, the Tampa Bay Rays are not what they have been in the past. Maybe they'll get to that, but they're not looking very good. The Red Sox have pitched like crazy. They've got all these injuries. They've played really well above themselves. I don't know if they're going to be able to sustain it. Then you have the Yankees and Orioles. They look like considerable forces in that AL East. And then you look around the league, nobody in the Central, I don't think, is going to be that much of a factor in the wild card race. Though I might be wrong. Maybe it's the Royals and Tigers or the Twins factoring in as well as getting the division title. And then in the West, the Mariners look good, right? The Rangers, certainly you can expect big things from them. The Astros, we don't know. 9-19 right now. So if you're the Jays, you have to look at the entire landscape. Every team does. And again, it's too early really to get that deep into this. We're talking 3 months until the deadline. 3 months. As you guys know, in a baseball season, that's an eternity.
Ken, good stuff. And, you know, if we learned anything from this hearty discussion, flopping is real in baseball. Mm-hmm. Let's not overlook that from the top of the show. Flopping
and
is real.
I need Ken to do a breakdown of the sausage in Minnesota. I need him to get up there and break down the sausage and all of the health risks that are involved with this big piece of sausage.
I can't do any analysis of the sausage better than Rocco Baldelli did. That was
facts.
It was amazing.
Facts.
First question, obviously I did the game last night. First question was, so Rocco, tell us about your sausage. And he just busted out laughing.
It's good. That's the good stuff. Ken, thank you. We'll see you on Fair Territory Thursday.
Thanks, guys.
FT Senior Insider Ken Rosenthal with us. And by the way, if you ever miss any of Ken, he's got Fair Territory Mondays and Thursdays, and also, you know, these clips on podcast form will be released, you know, within the next 24 hours at the latest. Quick super chat too before we move on and get to our next guest. There was a White Sox fan, Eli, who just wanted to know why he should be watching the ball club. So it sounds like an AJ special right there. I guess it's one of those like, hey, you got a prospect that you like? There's one that stands out eventually, but he's not there yet.
White Sox fan, live in Israel. Everything we expect from Jewish. I should watch.
He's just like, give me a sign.
Other than your stuff, you know, what's funny. We've asked White Sox players this question that we've had on, and you know, Crochet is doing okay.
Yep.
Eloy's been okay since he's come back off the IL.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, yeah, you're hoping that Cannon and Fetty's been pretty good, but you're hoping some of the young guys, they sent down Nastrini, but you're hoping those guys become something. When Colson Montgomery comes up, you're hoping but you're basically waiting for the prospects that they're supposedly, but I mean, they have a couple, but most of them are in Double-A, so you're waiting on those guys. But right now, why to watch them? Pray for a win.
Just one.
Dude, they just swept the Rays, bro. Boop, 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 boop. They're hot. They're hot.
Double down. Double down. Double it down.
Trevor, is it the worst team? Because we haven't had you on for this. I mean, do you think they're the worst team in baseball, or are the Rockies worse? I mean, yes.
Marlins?
Marlins
maybe, but I think just top to bottom, it's a mess in a lot of different ways, differently than those other teams. But we had that stat that was talked about before the show too, that the Rockies have been behind every single game all year. That's a red flag. But I also saw another statistic. This was before the sweep, so it's probably changed. But Tim Anderson last year was the worst qualified hitter in the league in terms of statistics, and the White Sox as a whole had a lower OPS than he had last year. So if that puts it in perspective, the whole team is worse than the worst hitter was last year. That's not ideal. That's not what you're looking for.
It's usually not what you're looking for.
Yeah,
but they've gotten better.
It has gotten better. I mean,
they scored 21. They scored 21 runs in 3 games against the Rays, and then the rest of the season they've scored like 45 runs in the other 28 games.
They were just saving their runs for the weekend.
Yeah, and there weren't, as we were told yesterday, we're not going to score 2 runs all year, or are you?
Or are you?
Because they scored 2 last night. They scored exactly 2 last night.
Trevor, I was just watching the A's game last night. The A's won their 13th game. Do you know how many games it took in their 30th game? They won their 13th. Do you know how many it took you guys last year?
Yes, I do. It took us 63 games to win 13. We were 12 and 50 at one point last year.
Who gets there first? Who gets to 13 games first? The 24 White Sox or the 23 Athletics?
Ooh, that's tough.
Need to know. We don't lay on the side of the fence.
I'll say the White Sox.
Yeah, because you knew how bad that was. You lived it.
I'll say the White Sox. Guys, we didn't win our second day game until like 3 months into the season. We won the opening day. We won opening day game, and then we lost like literally 28 straight days.
Because of traffic. You guys were always hitting traffic.
Bay Bridge's fault, 100%.
The veterans were taking those young guys out every night. I mean, let them stay home, Trevor.
Yeah, both veterans were taking all 23 of you.
All 2 of you.
That's why Trevor
What'd
had
you guys
quit.
finish?
We 50 and 112. We played a lot better at the end of the year. It was like I think 26 and 34 or something the last 60 games. So like better baseball. Surprising some teams. But yeah, it wasn't ideal there at the beginning.
Tough.
Mason Miller in the 9th seems to make sense.
Yeah, so finally they got a closer worth something.
Since Balfour. First one since Balfour.
Jesus. I forgot, they had a guy named Liam. I think his name was Liam Hendricks too. Like somehow they get some closing's pretty. Somehow playing in that massive park is good for closers.
Billy Koch tried it for a couple of years. It didn't work out so good.
He was okay. He was in the background of Moneyball sometimes.
Yeah, he gave up a big homer in that movie, but they don't show it. Sorry about it. Someone hit it off of him. I don't know.
Who did? Who was it? Who hit it?
I don't know. Some guy on the show. I don't know.
Google it, but we have our next guest ready. FT Live welcoming Sal Frelick of the Milwaukee Brewers. Sal, great to have you on with this whole crew. Appreciate the time, man. First off, how you doing?
What's up, guys? No, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Are you sure you're okay? Because we're coming off yesterday's wild call. So can we get your personal breakdown of what happened? We covered it at length at the top of the show.
Yeah, crazy. Never experienced that. Didn't know it was a rule. Was obviously on third, so scrambled home on the pass ball and thought we tied the game up. And the ump was pretty quick there to wave it off and send everybody back. And I kind of knew Murph was going to come out and things were going to explode a little there. But crazy. Had never seen that, so yeah.
How was Murph? How was Murph later on in the clubhouse? Was he going around? Guys, I know the rule. I know what the rule is. It's not your fault, Sal. You look great today. It's not your fault.
That's good, but no, he wasn't. He was pretty chill. I think it was kind of just one of those weird things that happens every blue moon, and I don't think anybody was at fault. I don't think JB was trying to hit the guy. I think we were talking about it after. Just it was a back foot slider as you saw there, and the catcher almost slid to block that way and moved up in the box even just as he should to attack that short hop, and I think it kind of aided the bat coming around and hitting him in the head there. So, yeah.
Sal, how many teammates do you think know about the rule, like this kind of in-depth rule? Not many, right?
I don't think any. I mean, we have guys 10 plus years that said they've never seen it, didn't heard of it. I mean, you see it, they know about it, like guy steals, and if your back comes around and hits them, like guys have seen that before, but on a pass ball, like drop third strike, just never seen it.
Need to watch more baseball. Kratz did it once. I'm just saying, Kratz faked one once.
It wasn't me faking it. It wasn't me faking it. It was the thespian up here in the corner. AJ Pierzynski, his leading act. He was filling in for Yachty, and he just wanted to steal the show. That's all.
That's true. I was the understudy, so I wanted to get the starring role. But Sal, I have to admit, that was a killer slide. That was a very smooth slide you made. And then you're like, what the fuck? Wait, what? I got to go back? Wait, no, wait, me?
I was confused, I think, as much as anybody.
But you went to BC. Aren't BC people supposed to be smart, Kratz?
Yeah, I should know the rule book. Honestly, I should have just went right back. I don't know. But now I know, so.
He went to BC, but he grew up in Mass. So he's up there, he's up there with his wicked winters and stuff, and he's playing too much hockey, and he's got a couple pucks off the side of the head. What did you say when you slid past? Because you had your hands up, and then you kind of looked at him, and you were like, no, like I touched home plate.
Yeah, I told him. I thought he called it hit by pitch because he was like he put his hands up. So I was like, oh, did it hit him? He was like, no, batter interference, and I had some words, I guess, for him, and Murph kind of came out pretty quick. So yeah.
One more, and then we'll get to you. I'm listening to that game last night, and they're like, "Damn, we can't catch a break," and they mean that in multiple ways. But you also had the Aaron Judge playing it. I get it. I mean, the team still gave up a bunch of runs in the loss there. But have you ever seen that before either? The slide like that blocks the baseball perfectly, like the Dikembe Mutombo play, basically.
Yeah, I'd never seen that either. I mean, obviously, Judge is really a really big dude. So when it kind of happened in real time, I was like, oh, I guess it might have just hit him. But then we saw the replay, his hand go up, and yeah, I mean, we didn't slam the door by any means there, but we would have gotten out of the inning. They turned that double play. I think Stanton was up next and flew out, so it would have still been a tie game. And I think it was a really big play in that moment, and I'm not really sure. I think the umps might have said they went back and watched it and might have gotten it wrong. And yeah, I mean, I kind of just back-to-back games there with some really weird plays that just didn't go our way.
Is it offensive when teams say the Milwaukee Brewers, they just have such a great clubhouse camaraderie and that's why they're winning? Or are you guys actually really good at baseball?
Yeah, I mean, you do hear that a lot because I do think we have a good clubhouse, but I think more so than that, we got really good players in this locker room. I think we got a lot of guys that go out there and compete and just want to win, which is why I love being in this clubhouse. And it's people can say whatever they want about the talent level in here, but I think we got some real dudes.
Speaking of teammates and guys that are absolutely going off for you guys, Bryce Trang. I got a question about him. There was we had the clip going around of the Jared Jones swing and miss. Was there any shit talked? Because that was one of those that was one of those ones where you go down on the ground, you get up, and you're like, oh, that was on TV, wasn't it? Do you guys give him any? I mean, it was nasty. You got to give him credit where credit's due. Nasty pitch, but Bryce is raking, so maybe he can handle it right now. You've been getting on him for that because that's one I'm never going to forget. That's for sure.
Yeah, not not too much. I would say honestly more so like as soon as it happened, like just walking back to the dugout, kind of laughing. He was laughing. Like I think he knew what had just happened, and just like wow, like nothing I can do about it now. So kind of died down pretty quick, but I think we had a good chuckle when it happened.
That's your roommate too, right? Or was your roommate at some point?
Yeah, it's still my roommate. So
there you go.
Wait! You got to explain that. Do you guys get a
home,
house?
though,
You
not
guys
on the
get,
road,
like,
right? Please tell me you're not having a roommate on the road.
Not on the road.
No, not on the
No.
road.
Oh, that's what the A's do.
That's what the A's do.
Yeah, some guys will really like their
No,
friends.
yeah. In Milwaukee, we just have an apartment. So last year we lived together, and so we just do it again this year.
Oh,
There you
I didn't know
go.
people still did that in the big leagues.
They do.
What? Why not?
Yeah, why
Yeah.
not? They're
Yeah,
young.
you don't
They're
have
not
to
rich
be
yet.
alone just because you're making more money. You know, you can hang out with your bros, man.
Yeah, I need a little. When I'm at home, just especially after a couple 0-for-4s, don't need to be by myself. It's nice to have a buddy or two. We added Joey Ortiz too, so we actually have we had 3 guys.
Added one.
Yeah,
Who's
we did.
who's the
Yeah.
sloppy? Who's the bad team or who's the bad roommate? Who's the messy guy? Someone is. There's no way you're all clean.
I think we're all pretty good. I actually think if anyone, it would be me. We're all pretty clean though, but I think I've been known to leave some stuff out here and there. But yeah, we're all pretty good.
Yeah, it happens. Life
I
gets busy.
honestly haven't ever heard. Most people when they get to the big leagues, they're like, "I want my own space." You can live next to each other, but like living in the same place is
Really?
kind of like, yeah.
I feel like a lot of the young guys, or at least some, I've heard. No,
Not that I ever was with. Most of them wanted to live by themselves. They get their own place. They'd live close to somebody so they could, go over and play video games with them, but they
Right.
wouldn't live in the same space.
you can get a bigger spot. You got 3. They're not rich yet. These are all league minimum guys.
Yeah, but he's a first rounder. He was like the
True.
15th overall pick, dude. He's a bonus baby. It's like Kratz, a bonus baby.
I have a question going back to Boston for a moment. So I read the story in the offseason from Ken Rosenthal about how you worked with Dustin Pedroia and how Pat Murphy set it up. That was cool. So are you still keeping in touch with Petey?
Yeah, I mean that was awesome. Obviously, like growing up in Boston as a undersized baseball player, that's kind of your hero. So when Murph hooked us up this offseason and was able to work with him for a week was like a dream come true, coolest thing ever. But he's been a great mentor. Stay in touch with him, and he came back out during spring training to hang out with the guys, and he's always around. So it's really cool to have a guy like that kind of be able to fall back on and ask questions and stuff like that.
How many times does Murph bring up your football skills, whether good or bad? Like anything that goes bad, he's going to bring up something about football. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, you're right. It's either football or hockey. It's usually when I'm up there swinging and missing. It looks like you're tackling it out there, or something like that along those lines. But yeah, often.
Are his jokes getting old yet? Now he's the manager. Like last year, he was a bench coach, so I was like, oh, he's cool, goofy bench coach. Now he's the manager. Like, are you kind of like, all right, Murph, we need you to be serious?
No, I don't know. Almost the opposite. I think like if I got to the point where he wasn't, saying jokes like that, I'd be like, are you okay? Is something wrong with you? So that's just Murph's personality, and I know we all love it. So I hope he keeps doing that.
Didn't Murph approach you about Pedroia and ask you who your favorite player was? And he said that guy sucks. Wasn't there something like that? What did he say?
Fiercely, it was my first spring training. My first big league camp was last year, and I didn't really know anybody. So Murph actually introduced himself as the video guy, and I thought he was the video guy for probably a week. I almost actually went and asked him for some film after a game. I didn't end up doing it because I couldn't find his office, obviously, because it's not in the video room. But he had told me that, and then right after we were just talking. He's like, "You're from Boston, right?" Like Pedroia, I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "My favorite player." He's like, "Yeah, the guy's trash. I've watched him play a lot. Like he's really not all that," and kind of ruffled my feathers a little bit. But yeah, just Murph.
Did you stand up for Petey? We're like, yo, that was my guy up in Worcester, Mass, yo.
Oh yeah, I did. I mean, I stood up, I think, too, because I thought he was the video guy. I think if I knew he was like, the assistant skipper, I probably wouldn't have talked back or anything.
Have you?
And
What
he
is it?
coached him in college. He was his coach.
I know.
too.
I'm aware.
But if you don't know all that, it's good.
And if you don't know who Pedroia is, I mean, I get it.
And if you don't know your bench coach is not your video guy, yeah. Sal was flexing his muscles. He's like, I'm a first rounder because I watched Petey. I love Petey, man. He brought us world championships.
No, exactly.
Sal, have you tried the bagel yet? What is it? The bagel? Murph's bagel?
No.
Come on.
Oh, you need to ask Murph to try his bagel.
This bagel. All
I
right.
don't think he's pulling that joke anymore because he's manager.
All right. Well, don't ruin
Sal,
it.
he doesn't put a bagel in his pants on day games and then pull it out while guys are warming up.
No, I mean, unless I've missed it, but I have not seen that. No.
Yeah, don't worry, Sal. I don't know about this one either, man. I'm a little confused too.
I'll have to get on with that.
What?
Ask him, or actually, don't even ask him. Just get your own bagel. Next
Yeah,
day you
I'm
get an
gonna
off day.
Do it to
Next
him,
day you
yeah,
get an off day. Put it in your pants, not in your pocket, in your pants. And then when you come out, walk up to Murph and don't say anything and be like, pull out the bagel and be like, just start chomping on. Be like, you want a bite? That's what he'd always do.
All right, I'm going to do that.
What do you got?
Okay, so I have to ask you, do you remember this graphic when you were playing? It was last year. I did a game of yours. Do you remember this graphic? Have you heard about this?
No.
Okay, so Adam Amin, who I do a lot of games with Fox. So you see the numbers. You were 4 for 4 with Adam Amin as commentator. Okay?
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
And then the next pitch of this, he hit a 3-run homer. So it was 5 for 5. And it reached base in all 7 plate appearances with Adam Amin as commentator. And then there you see the rest. 4. So he's 5 for 5 with Adam as commentator, and then 4 for 27 with the rest.
Was that the debut game because didn't you go 3 for 3 in the debut?
I think the debut game was a Fox game, yeah. And then I think
this was the second game. We were dying because he couldn't get out. And then the next pitch after we showed this graphic, 3-run Jimmy. Yeah. And we were like, dude, Adam, you're going to become the new Brewers announcer.
Has he called one?
Might need you guys to come out here pretty soon.
Need it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Anytime you're feeling low, just call Fox or AJ and be like, hey, you guys doing any national games soon? I was
actually supposed to do one
team.
next weekend.
Really?
The 11th. You guys play somebody, but it's my daughter's graduation. Sorry, Sal, you lost out.
That's fine.
That's fine. Only Knox.
I mean, my daughter only graduates from high school hopefully once. So I mean,
yeah, you got to hit that.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I got.
Sal's only got one chance to get a long-term deal too. I mean, let the guy eat. He's got to go back to Boston in the offseason. It's cold.
I have one more fan question. I don't totally know where they're going, but what?
Adam is there next week.
No way.
He just texted me.
Don't tell him. Don't tell him which game.
Out what day?
Next Saturday.
I can't know.
Yeah. It's Milwaukee, St. Louis next week.
Oof.
Every game. He's there
man.
every game.
I was supposed to be there with him. Milwaukee, St. Louis next Saturday. So I know who my pick to click is.
If he goes off again, I'd just be like, yo, I'm getting you tickets every night until this stops. It's like a heat check. All right, so kind of random question here from a fan asking about the Bat Boy from Milwaukee, saying he's got a lot of enthusiasm. We're just okay, I wanted to make sure. You smiled, so there is actually – I was like, this is too inside Milwaukee for me, but what's the deal? Do you guys have like a cool Bat Boy that stands out?
Oh, yeah, you guys haven't seen Nick yet, the Milwaukee Bat Boy? He's like a legend. He's like I don't even know how to describe it. Kind of like a Forrest Gump kind of run, but every whatever inning it is when they come out of the bullpen, he needs to go to the bullpen to get like a jacket or a pitch comm switch. He runs from our bench around like full speed around the infield dirt all the way to the bullpen, grabs it and sprints back. Cooking. This guy's burning. And comes back, like track finishes through and everybody goes nuts. But he's like, he's kind of famous here in Milwaukee. And I think he's gained a lot of followers the past like year or two, but guy can cook.
I haven't been to a game out there in the last couple of years.
So who's more famous?
I didn't know about him.
Front Row Amy or the Bat Boy now?
So it's close. I mean, he's making a big run, but Yeah, I mean, it might be Nick now, honestly.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know about this, Kratz? You're Mr. Milwaukee. You know about this guy? No?
I remember him. Because we'd see him running because we could see from our bullpen the whole time. So we're like, that guy is just booking right now.
And people are cheering?
We're real
they
bored
go nuts. And he comes back, he sits down, he's huffing and puffing, he chugs a water. Yeah, it's cool.
Love that. Awesome. All right. Well, Sal, this was great, dude. Hope you enjoyed it. This was fun. This is what you get on this show, but hope you had a good time, dude.
Yeah, no, we're all fun, guys. Thanks for having me.
This was great. Good luck the rest of the way, and especially on Adam and Mean Day.
Yeah, and enjoy your bagel.
Yeah, my bagel, yeah. No, thanks for having me, guys.
Cheers, Sal. Appreciate you. Good to talk to you. Sal Frelick from the Milwaukee Brewers on FT Live. Yeah, there's just a lot of interviews we do, Trevor, where I kind of like your brain re-racks it for a sec the last 15 minutes. And you're like, wow, we were starting off with like a really in-depth baseball play and rule, and then somehow we really were somewhere else. We digressed a lot.
You can get that stuff anywhere, though. You know what I mean? Like that's you sometimes people just want to talk about ball, like bagels and pants and stuff. Like
bagels
and pants. You're gonna get that.
You learn a lot.
Dude, roommates. That's unbelievable. Roommates. Nobody lived with anybody in the business.
I like that, especially my first year or two. I feel like that would be fun. It's kind of like college feels. No,
well, you're in the minor leagues with living with 6 dudes for the whole time. I don't know. Maybe it's because they're not in the minors very long anymore. Like
they aren't
5 years.
These
I spent enough time with roommates. I don't want a roommate. Once I had enough money to have my own place, I was like, roommates out.
Finally, I get to have my own bathroom.
Yeah.
I guess for me, I mean, I lived in New York City for a long time, and just like everybody, like almost no matter what job they had for like years, they like lived with a roommate because it costs $1 billion for an apartment. So people for like most of their 20s live with someone else. It's just like a thing, right? So just like keeps the kind of college vibes going.
That's weird to me. That's weird to me. People put like wanted roommate. And it's
do you have $1 billion for an apartment for a one bed with no dishwasher?
Don't live there.
Some people have to. That's where their job is. Just saying. All right. Well, the second half of the show will be Kratz lists. So we got 2 things to do before you bounce. One is Kratz hats.
See.
We had that one recently, or was it a variation of it? Indiana?
Different color scheme. I knew Trevor would get it from his Rochester days. He knows.
Oh, yeah.
Indianapolis Indians.
I'll never forget it.
I said Indiana.
Indianapolis.
Okay. Grade it.
How do we do the grade system? Is it
C? I said C. I just said a C. It's very average to me.
It's a school grades.
Yeah, I'll give it a C minus. Honestly, I hate that red so much.
Me too.
I hate that red so much.
It's too much.
What's the field called there? Foley Field or something?
Victory Field.
Victory Field.
Victory Field. All right, let's try it on that note. Before Kratz bounces, BetMGM locks. So first off, the free game of the day tonight is Royals Blue Jays, streaming on the BetMGM app. Live streaming is available to all BetMGM customers who are logged in and have funded accounts. The Blue Jays have Yariel Rodriguez, who Dan Schulman told us about yesterday, starting to learn a little more about Yariel and how important he is to the team. Jonathan Bolin, I think that's how you say it, for the Royals going up in tonight's game. So we'll see what happens. Enjoy that one if you can. And then locks. Woo! We are ice cold. X's across the board.
It's AJ's fault.
Let's recover.
My fault.
Yep.
You guys keep picking against my White Sox.
It's your fault.
It's your fault.
Anyway, FT Heater Boost is here, and then we'll do our picks. So every Tuesday, roll with the FT Heater, and we're accountable for that as well. That pick is 2-2 so far this year, which would mean you are very much in plus money. The edge is yours because this is plus 240. Adley Rutschman to record 2+ total bases and the Orioles to win against the Yanks tonight. It was plus 240. It is now plus 290. Go get that in the BetMGM app. And then let's go to our locks. Kratz.
Doing one that I've never done before. We're going to the second game of a doubleheader. And it's just a competition. Matt Manning's coming up from the bushes to throw against the Cardinals, who haven't been swinging very well, against Steven Matz. It's Matt Manning versus Steven Matz. Matt Manning just needs more strikeouts than Steven Matz, who hasn't gone over 4 strikeouts yet this year. And that's paying out at plus 140. It's a cool little prop I found.
I do like that. I enjoy that. I'm in for that. What about you?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, I'm going big because I'm a sucker. Big. I admit it. I'm a sucker. I'm going Pittsburgh and Trevor May's Oakland Athletics with the Stomper riding around in his little Jeep that he drives around in, and the guy who goes, "Your Oakland Athletics," with the great voice that nobody hears because nobody goes to the games, and the tiniest big screens in the world. They just got to be over 7.5 runs, and it is plus 100, which means it's even money, and I'm betting it all. I'm letting all of it ride today, and I'm going double or nothing for whatever it is, $1,082. So let's go, baby.
You're putting down everything you have.
And then some.
And then
everything that AJ said there is so funny. The littlest big screens. Literally, they have Costco TVs hanging in their stadium, and they're calling them their big screen TV. Like, it's unbelievable. But anyway.
You'll be standing on the field. Tell me I'm wrong. And they'll have in BP, they'll have like a game on, and you're like, "Who's up?"
You can't tell what's going on.
You can't even tell.
It's great. It's great. Great comment by you. Nothing to do with your bet.
If you have good eyesight, then you have the advantage.
No, nobody can see that far. I don't know how it would work in a football game. If you're there for a Raiders game, if you're on one end, you're trying to look at it's like looking at his iPad. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no idea.
TV for ants.
Watch the game.
Trevor, what about you? What are you picking?
Oh, I went real deep. I'm taking the money line. The Angels over the Phillies today. I think Spencer Turnbull gets Mike Trouted. That's what I think is going to happen. He's thrown really well, but I think he's due for a little bit of regression, and he throws a lot of fastballs. And Mike Trout and Logan O'Hoppe like to hit those real hard. So I'm thinking this is the day for them, but I'm not feeling too good about the rest of the series. But it's not about that; it's about today. So.
Yeah, and they're coming off a high too. The Angels with the win last night, 27 innings, a 1.33 ERA for Spencer Turnbull. We'll see if it changes. I was feeling good about my pick yesterday. They got to Canning early, everything was playing out, and then they left Sir Anthony Dominguez in to try and get his confidence back, and it's not back.
He ain't got no confidence.
He was spiking balls left and right. Garrett Stubbs was putting on a show, but he can't catch them all. There was one, I think the one where they scored 2 runs on the wild pitch. Stubbs is literally setting up like face high, and the pitch was like short. It was rough.
Here's the thing on that. I think Bryce played first yesterday, right? Didn't Bryce play first yesterday?
Bryce had to back that play up.
He's supposed to back that play up, and he's an outfielder. He's never really played first, and you have to always your first baseman has to back because Stubbs tried to throw it, and then it went over his head. Another run scored. So
and they lost by 1.
Yeah,
that's what happens. Anyway, for me, Cincinnati, San Diego. It's at 7.5 total runs in that game, so I'm going to go the over, lay down 115 to win a hundo. Think that the Padres offense, it's not great, but I think it's going to recover. They've lost 5 in a row, playing in front of the home crowd. They'll get to Nick Martinez, and it'll feel a little easier after the Nick Lodolo night that they had to experience yesterday. Darvish is pitching. He didn't look great before he hit the shelf. He's just coming back. I feel like that line's too low. I thought it was going to be 8.5, so trying to bang it.
No Ellie love from you today after what he did?
I can't talk about him every day, even though he's a top 3 MVP candidate right now. But dude is fun to watch. So 0-2 hater to center field. He has 1 billion stolen bases. I mean, it's hard for me when the Reds are playing right now, and I'm on MLB TV, and I'm like, there's like 4 games going on. It's hard for me to
keep your clothes on when the Reds are.
It's hard for me to look away. I'm sorry. Like it's just a fun watch. Sorry about it. Anyway, the bonus code is FOUL, FOUL. If you're a new BetMGM customer, sign up and deposit at least $10 into your account and place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. And if that happens, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Kratz, we'll see you tomorrow, dude. Good luck in your game.
Like Trevor May on a slider.
Woo!
Woo!
All right, see you later, Kratz. All right, let's do batting stance. Trevor May's first expedition. Have you ever done this game, by the way? Because we're starting to make just a weekly thing. We spend a few minutes on it, guessing batting stances. Have you ever played this game or seen it?
I have played it. I haven't done it for any sort of public content purposes, but I have played it. It is very fun. These are the types of things that this is my favorite. These are my favorite things. Like guessing pitches, guessing hit the pitcher, guessing hitters. I love this.
I feel like you'd be good at this. Our guys are really good at this. Like obviously every once in a while you get stumped, but we've done this maybe 3 or 4 weeks now.
They throw a random Rocky up there.
Yeah. Rocky's fourth outfielders sometimes are tough, but let's give it a go here. We've got, I think, 5 to roll out.
No, change of plans. Ryan Divish is coming in, so
never mind. We're going to do that after Ryan Divish.
Scott doesn't check his email.
I just looked. Trevor. It was sent at 2:11. It's 2:12.
Well, Jane first, you're late.
All right, I'm going to do the show just like this.
So you get a pass from me.
Thank you. Trevor's nice to me. But anyway, something to look forward to for later. We'll hit batting stance after we talk to Divish. We'll hit hot corner for a little bit. We didn't get to the Mets jerseys and just the City Connect vibes in general from Trevor. So we'll get to that later as well. And then actually, if we have time, we'll do For the People. There were a few questions sent to us over the past 48 hours from fans that we'll try and mix in as well. But we're going to go back to the Mariners in just a sec. They are in first place at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like you mentioned, they can pitch. Right now, they cannot hit. Real quick before we get to Ryan, while we have a moment, Trevor, how much does the ballpark play into the way that offense plays out there? Like, is it always, oh, wow, the pitching is top end and they can't hit? Or is a little bit of it, how some guys say they struggle at that ballpark? Because I heard Jerry DiPoto on an interview the other day say that some of the players they acquired are going through their worst like strikeout stretches of their career. And I'm like, I wonder what that's from.
Yeah, and I don't know, and maybe AJ can attest to this. It's just hard to see like earlier in the night because I don't know how good the batter's eye is, and a lot of times it comes down to that. Like the dimensions are the dimensions, right? And honestly, the weather's been phenomenal. Like it's not bad either. It's been warm. So like, what else? If you can't, honestly, it always comes down. I feel like just not being able to see or not see. Because if you can't see, you can't. There's just no way.
Well, day games were a nightmare. You always hoped it was cloudy because there was but listen, you're talking to the wrong guy because I loved it in Seattle. So
really?
I did.
Yeah, some guys love it, right?
I loved hitting there. Like it never affected me at all. I mean, yeah, there might have been a ball I hit to like a gap that didn't get out, but most of the time, man, I was like chomping at the bit to get up there and hit in Seattle. I never had a problem seeing or hitting there. I loved it. I mean, I know, and I played a lot of games. Like my first career homer was there, so maybe I have a special place in my heart. But like, I remember going there and just being like, I'm gonna get some hits today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we faced Felix, obviously. We faced some good. Jamie Moyer was throwing 80 poo up there.
The pitching there has been good since the inception of the team, basically. Like they've always had pretty good pitching. They're never like a terrible pitching team. So it is always very interesting. I remember hearing this. Remember Cano's stats before he signed with them? He was hitting like 380 with some crazy. He was like a career 1200 OPS there, and he played tons of games. Like some guys just it's their place. But yeah,
I think Cano might have been something else besides the field.
Oh, yeah. There's a little bit of that. We know.
But no, you look at there's a history though. Like Beltre, remember went there, struggled, had to have the year in Boston
last year. Teoscar Hernandez,
Nelson Cruz, remember he went there.
Wait, ready for this? Because I have it. Teoscar Hernandez last year, home numbers 217, 263 on base, 380 slug. On the road, and his hard hit wasn't great. On the road, 295, 344 on base, 486 slug. Those are big splits right there. And he said it was not for him.
The miss is different. Like guys are swinging and missing more, so it's not like a ball flight thing or hitting the ball hard. Mostly, it's like I hit the ball more often when I'm not in this park. Just physically hit it. So I don't know. It seems like it's got to be a sight thing. Maybe something you can't really put your finger on because there's a lot going on back there. It's not a very solid backdrop, right? There's a lot up there, so it's maybe the mound's weird and like guys who are different heights really change how you can see. I really don't know. I mean,
I feel like you're making a lot of excuses for hitters as a former pitcher. You should love it. You should be like, hey, man, this place is the best place in the world.
Consistent. I don't know. And maybe because the two guys struggling big time were ex-teammates of mine and buddies. That's probably what it is. It's Garver and Polanco. I'm just making excuses for them, I think.
Well, here's the thing. People, we had Dan Schulman on yesterday talking about Toronto, how it's changed. But Toronto was a great place to hit. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it changed.
I know, but what did they change? That's what I don't understand. All they did was move the fences in.
Baltimore changed.
Yeah, but they put up a friggin' giant wall.
Yeah. The Great Wall. Okay,
Toronto's
so let's do this.
On, though.
Yes, true. No. Well, what'd you say they have?
There's just like lights and screens like everywhere. Yeah. Like
they actually have a big screen, not like Oakland that has a little big screen.
Yes.
They have a big screen.
A real big screen. Okay, we'll step aside. We'll come back. We'll ask first question to Ryan Divish about how the ballpark looks. Unified Healing is sponsoring this episode of Foul Territory. Unified Healing is an innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or EE System. This technology promotes wellness and deep relaxation, and there are hundreds of locations across the globe. Interested in experiencing the EE System technology for yourself? Go to unifiedhealing.com/foul to learn more and find a center near you. That's UNIFYD healing.com/FOUL. No material or testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including EE System. Great to have Seattle Times writer Ryan Divish back on territory,
yes.
And a great hat.
Let's go.
I knew AJ would like this.
That's a good one. NWO hat for the podcast crowd if you can't see it. But let's bring that question over to you, Ryan. How often do you hear the ballpark excuse, and is it legit in your mind?
Well, you hear it more from hitters that have left the Mariners than you do currently. I do know, like, I was covering the team, and Adrian Beltre hated it here. Loved Seattle, but hated the park. Felt like he got cheated out of a lot of hits. And then they changed the walls, I think a year or two after he left. But Justin Smoke was another good example. You know, he really struggled here, and then when he went to Toronto, he put together an all-star season. And part of it was you get in, you have a couple marine, they call it the marine layer here, but you have a couple balls knocked down where it isn't a home run, and then all of a sudden you try and hit it just a little bit harder. You try and overcook it just a little bit more. And that leads to off the barrel swings. And I think that's the one mindset you have to get out of your head, is that you have to swing that much harder or hit it that much harder to always get it out. Yeah, it's not great here in April and May, but it evens out in July and June when it's warm. I mean, Nelson Cruz never had a problem hitting bombs here. He hit them, but then again, he doesn't have a problem hitting bombs anywhere. But I think sometimes it just gets in your head, and what happens is you just get out of your approach. You know, you miss a fastball that you should have hit, and all of a sudden you're chasing a result because you haven't, you know, it's hard to get hits here. I think it bothered Jesse Winker when he was here. I think it bothered Teoscar when he was here. You just, guys that are used to getting home runs on certain swings and it's not a home run, they think, okay, I have to recalibrate and try something different. No, you just got to keep doing the same thing. That's why Mitch Haniger, like he said, he's just like, yeah, sometimes it's unfair, but you can't let it affect you. You just have to keep doing the same thing or you'll get into bad habits.
Okay, so is it because they took the Hit It Here Cafe sign down? Is that why the ball doesn't travel there anymore? Because I'm telling you, man, people used to say that, and we used to go there and have home run derbies there. I mean, It was like, did the climate change affect the ball flight there? Because I'm serious, like I used to go to Seattle and BP, and it was like, all right, we're going to see how many we can hit off the window up there with the little bullseye, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it was never – I mean, I can't remember hitting a ball in Seattle and being like, damn, that was a home run most places. I mean, I remember when I hit one, it went out just like every other park.
Yeah, I mean, and AJ, you had the pull side power. That's important. I mean, if you're a left-handed hitter, it's a little more true. If you pull a ball to right field, it will carry that way, and that part is fair. But I think just what they don't like early in the season, in April and May, it's cold, the air is heavy, and then a lot of times they keep the roof open when it's cold, and then the wind's kind of swirling around, so it'll knock some balls down. But no, I think if you're left-handed and you hit it right, it's a home run almost every time. I mean, but it's the right-handed power guys trying to go to right center or to left center or even a dead center. Those balls kind of get knocked down at times. But no, I think some guys make a bigger deal of it than others. But the big thing, and I think the Mariners wanted to try and get away from that idea of just bashing home runs or striking out. They wanted to have more complete hitters that weren't so relying on the home run, but that really hasn't happened this year.
Apparently, your Mariners never watched Brett Boone hit balls to right field and then flip his bat, like one of the greatest commercials of all time. Remember, if you remember that, when they had him like flipping the rake and flipping like everything as he's. I mean, he had no problem hitting homers there. I mean, he'd just flick balls right and go, whoa, bat flip.
Yeah, the Boone had a different way of doing it. I know that. I mean, like, I think too, it is different. It's been colder here a lot more in April and May. We're actually working on a story about the marine layer, or the heavy air, for our paper, just how it affects the ball flight. But yeah, I think, what we found too is that it stays warmer later in the year here. So in late August, when it used to get really cold, it's still warm, and you see some of the hitting. But I do know, like, sometimes in late summer when they play day games, it is harder to see the shadows kind of creep in. That's one of the reasons why that playoff game went 18 innings or whatever it was. It felt like it was never going to end. The shadows came in. It started late afternoon, and they just had a hard time seeing the ball. And so not only is it a hard time seeing it, but then the Astros are running out all their guys, and the Mariners had all their arms, and nobody was going to hit one. We were kind of joking that we needed the sun to go down and the lights to kick back up and get dark for somebody to finally hit a home run, because that's kind of what it was looking like, because nobody touched the ball that day.
So, okay, so we've talked a lot about, about how homers that guys are feeling like they're supposed to have aren't going out, but this team isn't having trouble, or isn't having problems with the ball being caught at the warning track. It's putting it in the play. Struck out 17 times over the 27 times over 17 innings of baseball. I think they're up in the top 3 in strikeouts this year, at least strikeout rate, almost a 30% clip for the whole team. A couple guys that I played with that are kind of leading that charge with Garver and Polanco. So what do you think is going on there? Why so much swing and miss? This was a team that I felt like had an issue last year with Teoscar and Suarez possibly being a little bit too much swing and miss in the middle of that lineup. I thought that was going to be closed up a little bit. It hasn't turned out that way. What adjustments do you think these guys need to make to put the ball in play a little bit more?
Yeah, you're right, Trevor. Like, I don't expect Mitch Garver to strike out like this. And I certainly, like, Polanco's at like 32 or 34% strikeout rate at one point. Like, that's not who he is. Part of what made him attractive as a player for them to sign was that he hit the ball, that he put the ball in play, that he barreled a lot of baseballs. I think for those guys, that you want to get off to a good start. You're on a new team. They faced some tough pitching as well early on. I mean, like, and one thing that we've noticed, and this has been a trend with the Mariners for the last few years, is that they just spin it against them, spin to win. Throw as many breaking balls as you can. If you can really execute, you can get the Mariners out. We saw that early in the season. The Red Sox, like Pivetta and Cutter Crawford, and those guys just spun them to death. And I think that's what we're seeing as well. The Mariners like to swing, and they want to hit the ball. And what we're seeing is they kind of work themselves in some tough counts. They're fouling off some pitches. But I think part of it is they see so much breaking stuff that they're late on fastballs. They're kind of in that in-between mode. And that's a tough place to live in big league baseball. But I don't expect Garver and Polanco to stay there. The one thing is when you get down this far this early and you see a 1 next to your name on your batting average and you're looking up at the board, you want to climb out of it. Nobody likes to be there. And then you start chasing results a little bit and bad things happen. This was the goal when they had to remake their roster for a lot of different reasons. One of it was for payroll flexibility, and they didn't have it. But they also wanted to try and strike out less, because that was a problem last year with runners in scoring positions, bad strikeouts. So they don't have Teoscar anymore. They don't have Suarez. Jarred Kelenic had a 35% strikeout rate. They got rid of all those guys thinking, you bring in Polanco, Garver, Haniger does strike out some, but he does hit the ball more in play, that it would be better, but it just hasn't. And part of the problem too is guys like Julio strike out in a little bit. J.P. Crawford's strikeout rate was way higher than usual. And I think, you just saw a bunch of guys trying to press. When you have about 4 or 5 guys that are all kind of in that mode, it's hard to get out of that. And I think we've seen bits and pieces of where it could be better. But yeah, it's a problem. Like, it's a tough way to live if you're just relying on a homer. Like last night, they probably should have lost that game for all intents and purposes, and they found a way to win it at the end, but they had done nothing for 7 or 8 innings.
So we're talking about the strikeout issues. Hopefully that eventually gets fixed for them. Do they have enough power to be a World Series champion? We know they have enough pitching. There's no doubt. We were always worried about the offense. Now we're worried about the swing and miss. But let's say that evens out a little bit. Is there enough damage? Because nowadays in our sport, you need to have that. It's rare that we're seeing teams, especially in the past, 5, 6, 7 years, win a World Series if they don't have upper echelon slug.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Mariners' record is like 14-5 when they hit a homer. So yeah, they need it. So they don't have the other than maybe Julio, they don't have the 40 homer aircraft carrier guy. It's like Julio, and then they have a bunch of guys maybe capable of hitting 25. Haniger's had 30 homers in his career, but yeah, they don't have those big bashers. I think for them, realistically, for them to get to where they want to go and maximize on the value of this pitching, yeah, they got to add somebody at the deadline. Not subtract, don't trade your closer, get real dudes in there. Whether that's a guy that comes in and plays third base, though the third base, tandem of Rojas and Arias has been fine, or maybe it's a first base guy, I don't know, or another outfielder. You need another middle of the order presence bat to kind of keep going, because it's tough to live just relying on pitching. And at some point too, those guys wear down a little bit. We saw that last year. The Mariners made such a huge run in August when Julio got hot. And then, you get to September and all of a sudden, the dog days hit George Kirby and Logan Gilbert and some of those guys. And they had a couple of rough outings. They just they didn't have the offense to carry it. So I think they got to add at the deadline, and I'm sure they'll try. And that becomes a budget question, whether they'll be able to add the money to get another guy. But I don't think that I can look at this team right now and say, as they are right now, that they're a World Series contender. Their pitching is a World Series level. It's the rest of the stuff it's an issue.
I mean, you can't expect guys to go 7 innings when they've only ever gone 6. I mean, come on, Ryan. Let's keep it let's keep it under context. And they're winning 55% of their games right now, so they're way ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. But one thing that concerns me the last 2 years, Julio Rodriguez signed the big deal. He kind of became like one of the faces of baseball. The last 2 years, he's got off to awful starts. Last year, up until almost the All-Star game, and then he took off. This year, again, he's struggling. So what is it about Julio at the start of the season? Is it the cold weather? Why has he struggled the last 2 years to start?
I think this year he had kind of made some adjustments to his swing, kind of like the load aspect of it, trying to be more balanced. And I don't think it worked very well in the sense that he just wasn't getting results. The whole thing is to calm down kind of the leg aspect a little bit, because there was a lot of moving pieces. Well, he was just in between the whole time. He was late on a bunch of fastballs he should have hit. And then, all of a sudden he starts to chase. And I mean, that's the one thing with Julio, I've written about it before, but it's the old adage for power hitters when they're right-handed, bust them inside hard with fastballs and then just go soft away until they get themselves out. And he's done that a little bit. There are stretches where he's very disciplined and he's very, cognizant of what the strike zone should be and what he should be swinging at. And there are other times that he just wants that result. He wants to get the big hit. And I think that's part of his problem sometimes is he feels responsible when the offense isn't going, that he needs to do the hitting and save it. And I don't think that's what you have to do. I can't, it's so strange. Like you'll see a 5-game stretch. You're like, okay, he's kind of righted the ship. It's going to be that way. And then, then it's followed by 4 or 5 games where it's not as good. And I think that's been frustrating for the Mariners. It's been frustrating for him. And sometimes when you're that good, you have to kind of hit a bottoming out point where it's like, okay, this isn't working what I'm doing. I got to shift it completely. And I think that's maybe where it's tracking to. He's got to find a way to reassess his what he wants to do in the strike zone and then find ways to be better. I think the one thing he has to realize too, teams aren't going to let him beat them. I mean, you look at the lineup and you can sit there and say, well, we're not going to give him fastballs. We're not going to give in because he's proven that he'll get out if we just stay out of the zone. So he's only getting maybe 2 or 3 quality pitches that are, middle half of the plate that he can hit. And what he's doing is fouling them off. And I think that's the one thing he has to recognize too, is like you're just not going to get what you think you're going to get anymore. And you have to be able to capitalize on the few times you see it or be disciplined enough to spit on the ones that are out of the zone and take the walk and move on. And I think that's the big thing. When he's going right, his pitches per plate appearance are very high and he's seeing and he's forcing because they're not making mistakes. And you don't give them a chance to make mistakes if you swing at the first pitch or you chase one, and you're just perpetually behind all the time. And I think can't force a result. He just can't. And I think that's what he's doing.
You nailed. I agree with everything you said. I did a little bit of a deep dive on Julio too, and the whole going in on he's swinging it off the plate, and then now the pitches are actually coming over the plate a little bit more, and he's hitting those ones hard. I know this first homer the other day was a big boy homer, and it was finally a pitch that was actually over the plate and he went and got it. But how much do you mentioned expectations a little bit, and guys pressing, and especially with hitting, you hit somewhere else, you come here, you want to continue doing that. And this is one of those teams that has a pretty big fan base, a pretty vocal fan base. I feel like I've noticed that a lot since I've been here in April. and Julio's 23 years old. People forget how young he is. So how much do you think expectations is playing into not only him but the guys behind him? They just came here too, having new people come in all the time, and possibly knowing that, like, hey guys, we're not like running away with this thing at the trade deadline. We want to keep everyone we have, because the last couple of years they've lost somebody, and that's not fun either. How much do you think that is playing into this? Hey, we got to get going. There's always a sense of urgency when you don't necessarily need it.
Yeah, I do think that's an issue, because everybody wants to perform, and like it's, you guys know this, and it's so crazy. Like when fans sit there and say, "Oh, they just don't care." Like, no Major League Baseball player likes the feeling of being embarrassed on a baseball field, either out of performance or a mistake or whatever. And they wear it and they take it hard. And you can be the most veteran guy, but if you have a 6-game stretch where everything feels terrible, it wears on you. And I think that's kind of what we've seen. And then when you get like a collective group of everybody kind of struggling at once, then somebody always tries to assume, well, I'll fix it, I'll do it, and I think that's been a problem. There are stretches where they have kind of that team mentality, take a bunch of walks, get just base runners on and figure out a way. But, guys want the results too. It's not, there's an individual component in the team aspect of baseball. And I think people don't realize that big league players hate to look bad on a baseball field. They hate to look bad because you can't get there if you're not conditioned to perform. Like people can sit there and say, "Oh yeah, well, I'm competitive." No, like when you're around Major League Baseball players or NFL football players, the level of commitment and the competitive nature for 99% of these guys is elite to almost, scary, because that's how you get there. You can't just not care and get there unless you're supremely talented. And I think that's what we run to sometimes with the Mariners. And I think the Mariners really wanted to prove everybody wrong. They knew what the offseason was like, and they felt like working within the confines, they had a pretty good roster, and they want to show people they're wrong. You hear about the Astros, you hear about the Rangers, and they felt like they were good enough to compete with those teams. They certainly knew they had the pitching to do it. But I think, too, they probably get tired of it, too, always asking, well, how the pitchers bailed you out again? How great has the pitching been? When are you guys going to hit? And I think we're seeing some of that. There's been some frustration, them talking about it, just admitting, saying, like, their pitching's carrying us, and we've got to do more. And it's not been fair to them. And, will we see it in the coming days and weeks? They've been through a tough stretch, too. It feels like they're in the freaking National League, for God's sakes. That's all they do is play National League teams, but they've been through a tough stretch of pitching as well. Like Fried wasn't dominant last night, but he was good. And a lefty, he spins that stuff against them, and that's just hard. So, maybe they get a little healthier when they go out and play on the road here a little bit. They play the Astros, they go to Minnesota. I think that they could get healthier there, but it's been pretty brutal at times to watch their offense. And I know, talking with those guys, they're as frustrated, probably more so than fans. Like I always tell people, you don't care more than the players. As much as you think you do, you don't care as much as the players. I don't care how many jerseys you bought.
Thank you for doing that. I appreciated that a lot. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're not spending all day thinking about it, working on it. You're a fan. It's a little different. So, yeah, I'm with you.
Just
Ryan,
like I don't care about writing as much as Ryan does.
That's true.
No, I don't really care about writing that much either. I just kind of fake it. What did Bobby Knight say? Everybody learns how to write in 3rd grade and then moves on. I guess I haven't really moved on, but I still write at about a 3rd grade level.
Perfectly stated. Couldn't do it any better. Well, you're fooling the world. You do a great job. Check out Ryan Divish's articles in the Seattle Times. Follow him at Ryan Divish.
Wait, before you go,
yes.
Scott's trying to get rid of you.
I'm not trying to get rid of you.
What
You
is
didn't tell me you had another question.
What is the animal over your left shoulder?
I think there's a big old elk back here.
That one, yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah.
It's not mine. I'm staying with my cousin. He lives out on a farm out in Washington, and so he got the elk, but he got it in Montana, where I'm my hometown. So he comes back and hunts in Montana.
Can I go?
It's where I'll move one day. The next time, a year from now, maybe I'll be living in a cabin in the woods trying to do this with some spotty internet
Be
connection.
careful, though.
If he ever needs to take somebody, I'm available.
There you go. Be careful, though. If there's a minor league park around there, some team might try to move there. Who knows? Just saying.
You never know.
Yourself some work out there in Montana. Ryan, good to talk to you, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, guys. Take it easy.
You too. Ryan Divish, always good real talk with Ryan. And let's sizzle. Hot corner time. Haven't had Trevor on in a minute, so we talked about this in the past week. Players Weekend is coming back. Some players have been confused about what it is this year, besides kind of just honoring some things, but like the marketing of the sport aspect of it is kind of misleading at the moment. So I don't know what you saw from it, Trevor, but we do not have the back of the uniform action going on. Not really sure what Players Weekend looks like now.
Yeah, they're pretty adverse to any sort of customization of jerseys these days, huh? You can't tailor them. You can't complain about how they're see-through. Now, somehow putting a name on the back of a jersey is the hardest thing on the planet to do. What about Players Weekend is now players at all? Because the cleats rules aren't even in play anymore. Guys have custom cleats all year, so it's not this custom cleats thing. I mean, maybe there's a theme, like something that you want to communicate, or a charity you're supporting or whatever. But then you don't even get to put a nickname on the back of your jersey. So, like, what part is the players' part? It's just they should just call it different weekend at this point. And I swear, if we go with all black jerseys and black white jerseys, just scrap it. Just bang it. Let's just move on with our lives. I don't understand. I was like, it's a pretty traditional sport. There's not a lot you can do. And that was one of the coolest things that they introduced when I was playing. I loved it. Those were so fun. And then I don't know. It's just a different jersey to sell. I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't know what the point is at this point. I don't know if it's just PR or what. But if I'm a fan, I'm like, why would I buy this jersey as opposed to maybe, I don't know, one of the grayscale jerseys we keep rolling out for City Connect.
By the way, two things. One, yes, you're correct. It's about selling another jersey. And you didn't like the Spy versus Spy when they went white versus black. Remember that one? And that was like,
remember when? And they were like, "We need everyone to wear the white hats, though." Why?
Yeah.
So like,
and you couldn't even tell what team was what team.
It was so.
You couldn't even.
It was so weird.
Couldn't even tell. Remember, you couldn't tell what team was what team because it was just white. It was a white colored team and a black colored team in their uniforms, and they just played.
Not well thought out.
No.
But I will say this: MLB is doing this to appease players.
But they're pissed off.
I know, but I'm just saying they're doing this to appease the players. They're like, hey, look, we brought back Players Weekend for you guys. You can do whatever you want. But like Trevor said, though, guys wear cleats, whatever they want. They wear wrong colored arm sleeves. They wear everything different colored anyway. So it doesn't even matter anymore.
Why wouldn't they want Players Weekend, though? Like when it happened, it was big. It was well liked. Young fans liked it. Even, I mean, any fan. I didn't see many fans go, you know what I really hate? That 3 games out of 162, there's a back of the jersey that has a nickname that I don't like. If that's you, I don't want to hang out with you anyway. Like, everyone liked Players Weekend, so why change it?
Maybe the black versus white. And by the way, all pitchers had to wear the black hat because the white hat looked like a ball. So they didn't think about that beforehand. So all the pitchers were wearing black hats because it was too hard to see. So I mean, I could have told you that one. But I don't think that one went over very well because the jerseys sucked. They just weren't cool. Like, no one wanted to buy them. So I don't think they sold very well. And that, as we very well know, something doesn't sell well. That's a pretty good way to get the MLB's attention and whether or not they should do it anymore. And so, but I genuinely don't know what's going on with the back of the jerseys. This has to be like a I don't know, turnaround issue, or God forbid I say this term again, supply chain. I don't know why they can't do it anymore. And it sounds like that it might be coming from that more than like, I know that the articles about this, it was all the photo they were using was always Rich Hill with the D mountain on the back to like insinuate that guys were being, I don't know, inappropriate. But there just wasn't an issue. So maybe it was just like last time's design wasn't very good. So they're just like associating that with like the weekend itself sucks, but it's not that. It wasn't a very good design choice. And that's been happening more often than not these days, it feels like.
I also, my thing was, we've had back orders with a lot of alternate jerseys, City Connects, whatever. I also think that there is a pretty massive amount of embarrassment about the back of the jerseys right now with this tiny lettering. Mm-hmm. So that would get accentuated. So part of my conspiracy theory is that they will bring it back next year and be like, you've spoken and we've got it back because we fixed the back of the jersey. They're not going to say that part. But think about it. If we do that this year, the attention might be on the jerseys besides, what's on the back, right? People might be like,
I don't think they'll be able to do
that game's awesome, but I didn't bring my magnifying glass to the game.
Well, they're switching it back too, right? So they're like, if they do this, they're going to have to do the small lettering, and they don't want to do that. But all you have to do is, we're making this change, guys. It's too hard to do. Just say that. Just say it. If that's what's going on, just be like, hey, guys, it's hard to do that. We're sorry. And then people are like, oh, okay. But for some reason, we're not saying that. So
is he asking for I'm sorry, Trevor. I just got to check with AJ. Is he asking for accountability?
No, never.
Okay, just checking. Accountability?
Nobody would have
accountability. You want accountability on something super simple that people would accept?
It's weird.
Wild concept.
AJ, coming up, did you ever have like a coach or GM say that you should be accountable as a player?
I came up with the Twins. You played for the Twins. You know how they were. I mean, they were always like
a couple times a year. You hear it a little bit. Yeah.
So everything you did, you were like, hey, if you make this mistake, you're accountable for it. If you do this, be accountable. If you say this, you're accountable.
Be accountable for your own actions. Yes. And somehow nobody else involved has to be anywhere.
No, not at MLB, that's for sure.
I don't get it. Just talk to us. It's the disconnect is off the charts right now. Okay, so then what about your little tweet about the City Connects?
What? We got great jerseys against great teams wearing great. Like, pick something else. Though I will say, I do like the Rays better than I like the Mets. I thought the New York has so many things you can do. And to have like no pops of color or anything involved, I was just like, come on, if you're gonna go grayscale, you got to do something with color in it. But yeah, the gray, I don't know what the obsession with gray is, and why that's the main palette we're using. I don't know if it's easier. I don't know if it's got all these cool little details you can't even see because it's gray. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. I don't know if you guys saw this, but a couple years ago, New Balance had a promo going where like it's gray, and the whole thing was grayscale, and it like came in like a 5-gallon bucket, all of the stuff, and everything was gray. I was like, why? And needless to say, that didn't go very well, and it didn't sell a lot. So I mean that's kind of the matte gray helmets are kind of cool. I'll say the helmets are, but the all gray jerseys are just like, I don't know, go with like I like the colors. I think that it's an opportunity to use alternate colors. I love that hate them or love them, the Red Sox, and hate them or love them, the Padres. Those are unique and have never been seen before, ever. Like, they're not throwbacks to the 70s. They're not throwbacks to the 50s. They're brand new. And then we're just going, let's just make everyone the road team. Like, that just, there's got to be better ideas. You got to have better ideas.
They must be selling.
They should use the purple. The purple is a cool color. The purple they had, they should have made the letters purple, the jersey purple with gray.
Purple. Yeah.
Something like that. Like, that purple is a cool color. Now, like, I think as cool, as much as I do like the Rays and what they did, the logo on the hat is badass with the bridge and the Ray. Like, and then the Ray skateboarding is badass.
They crushed it.
But they should have done it like in the vault, the fluorescent yellow. Like, the whole thing should have been like fluorescent yellow. Because that would have been such a Ray thing to do, right?
Yes.
Like, oh my gosh, like everyone else has gray or black. Boom, the Rays are bright yellow. And you'd have been like, damn, that suits the Rays perfectly.
I agree. I think the purple would have been a great call too, because they use that for the subway line color.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's cool. I like that. I think that would have been cool.
Gray maybe as the accents. I mean, it is kind of like a satin gray, a car satin gray. So I do like that. But like for a jersey, the whole thing being just a matte kind of, there's like no shine or anything. I don't know. It's you can't even read it. So I'm like, you can't see the accents that they pointed out. Like, look at all these cool things. I'm like, I can't see them because they're all the same color. You just made them different color. It'd be easier to see.
And you can't see them because they're $450, which is crazy that a jersey costs $450.
Yeah.
$450.
What did Trevor say about if people don't buy them, they won't do them?
Yeah. Well,
is there going to be a lot of $450 jerseys out there that people are buying?
I can't imagine that's selling like hotcakes.
People better PS5 kids, pick one.
I can wear my Mets jersey every day. My mom has to wash it, or I can get a PS5. Scott definitely chooses the Electric Dance Carnival.
How much does it cost to make those?
Well, according to the way they're making them, not very much.
Right. Whew, that's a tough price for everyone. I know inflation, but I don't know it like that. Yeah, let's get to some fan questions for the people time. We'll pick two today. Ben on Instagram. Quick question I have about one of your topics you brought up about Blake Snell struggling. And I remember in San Diego last year, once he had Gary Sanchez behind the plate, his performance improved a lot. My question is this: can some pitchers just not click with some catchers? What is there to figure out in getting that relationship? And he said, apologies if you brought this up and love the show and all that. But that's a great question. And we have a pitcher and a catcher. So who would like to start? Not me. Trevor, you start.
I'll take it because I had this issue to start last year. It's a big deal if you don't feel like you're on the same page with the catchers, especially now. And something that people don't realize from last year was we put the pitch clock into play, and then everyone started using PitchCom, which was way slower in calling pitches as well. So these two things were happening at the same time where you're on the clock and you're trying to get this going, and you're just trying to even you can't even cycle through the pitches to the pitch you want. You can't even get there, let alone think about whether or not it's the right pitch. So that was a big issue to start last year. And I know that Snelly struggled a little bit with that too. So, but then you kind of come up with strategies, and that's every team's kind of doing crazy different stuff. So last year I had to be like, dude, we're using signs. When no one's on second, we are using signs. I don't care. Because we got bigger fish to fry here. Like, I just throwing the ball to the plate. Who cares if they're stealing signs? No one's stealing the signs against us. They're beating us handily either way. So let's just like get the calls right. And so that relationship's huge. And then once you get on the same page and you're dialed and you've discussed how you want to approach things and like what your defaults are, so to move quickly through this clock thing, it just goes smooth sailing. And that's I figured it out with Shea Langoliers. We had conversation after conversation, and he's young too. He was, in his second year, so he's still learning how to do this in general. And so it took like hours of convo with him, but by the end, he could read my mind, and he knew like if I threw a pitch and where it went based on where it went, he knew what I wanted to throw next, and I barely had to shake anymore. So that everything I've heard about Patrick Bailey is he is a student of the game. He's on top of things, so it just might be a lot more conversations need to happen and getting comfortable there. And once it does, then I would expect old Blake Snell to just appear and to be dominant again.
I mean, listen, pitchers are divas. They all want their personal catcher. They all want their this and that. Listen, here's the deal. Just throw what I put down, and you won't have to worry about the timer. Just if I put down if I hit a little fastball on the video game and I want it in, then you throw it in. And if you miss, then you can blame the catcher and say, "Oh, well, he didn't want to throw that one in." And the catcher's like, "Well, I called it in. He threw it out over the plate, and the guy hit it for a home run." So listen, just make better pitches. It doesn't matter what Mark Burley never shook off, and look how good he was.
But what if they don't like what you're throwing out there?
Well, who cares? Mark Burley never cared. He just threw whatever he said. I'm going to throw the best one I could throw.
He's a borderline Hall of Famer.
Well, look at how it worked out for him. Chris Sale never shakes. God's working out for him. John Danks, so he got hurt.
What would Burley do? That's what we all wake up and think. What would Burley do?
Exactly. Have the right fielder call pitches for a game. We did that before too, just to try it. I mean, that was fun.
Burley, the only guy that would have stood up and said, "I think that pitch clock is too long. Can we?"
No, but listen, I mean, honestly, I get it, and I do understand.
Speed this up.
Well, I actually do understand from a pitcher standpoint, because there are times where you're just like you have a hard time getting on the same page, and there are even times. Listen, with pitchers I'd go out to the mound, and this one you could have more than 2 mound visits. You say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And by the time you got back to home plate, they're changed their mind. You're like, "Wait, we just had a 2-minute conversation about we're going to throw this guy a slider," and oh no, I changed my mind. You're like, "No."
Yeah.
My thing is, okay, you have Trevor, who's a vet, who does a ton of homework, and you could have a young catcher, or it could be any catcher, and you just could be like, yo, what you just threw down there is exactly what we should not be doing in this situation. This guy is looking for this shit. And you can't have that debate.
Yeah. You don't have time anymore.
You don't have time.
And you don't have the mound visits to go out there and talk about it. So it's got to be, it's harder now because of the time and because you don't have the ability to run out. I mean, Joe Mauer used to go to the mound 30 times a game. You're like, gosh, Joe, we got a game.
Can't do that.
3 days from now. We're never going to get to it. But Joe was out there like, gosh, hurry up.
Yeah, so think about it. Trevor's coming into the game, say in the 8th or 9th. He's like the freaking 6th pitcher to enter the game. Catcher's already got his brain racked, and Trevor's like, yo, I got my plan, and you got to do it quick. I'm sure you have some times where you're like, yeah, that's not what we should be doing here.
A couple times I go, signs, we're doing signs. He comes out and talks to me, signs, we're doing signs. This isn't Shea. Our backups, and we had different backups a lot. Carlos Perez, he didn't catch as much, he DH'd more. So signs. Okay, we do signs for the first hitter. Next guy, back to the pitch clock. He forgot already. Like, or he couldn't remember the way we were doing signs, which honestly, he had heard it for the first time. I actually don't blame him. It was kind of like, I hope this works. And we're back to the thing. And now I'm not even getting to the pitches I'm getting to. And I'm shaking. And now we got a violation. And it's frustrating and it's annoying. You're like, now I don't even know who's hitting right now. I haven't even looked at who's hitting. I'm worried about being able to get to the pitch that I maybe want to throw. That
goes back to, just don't shake.
Just don't shake. Well, but at the end of the day, that's what I did.
Right. But also for teams, smart catchers.
But at some point, we've already talked about this. At some point, they're going to have the call a fastball.
Really?
I hope they never go to it, but at some point, like high school, college, they all do it now. They have a little walkie-talkie in the catcher's ear, or they have the wristband where they call the pitch, and the pitcher's not allowed to shake. Like, I mean, it's crazy to me that that's how we've become. But
all right, I got one more for you from Gil. He's talking about Pete Alonso, bright spot in baseball, seems like a genuine human being. Fan question: Pete consistently slides head first into home plate. Gary, Keith, and Ron, especially Keith, who has a soft spot for Pete, they go nuts. Does he risk more injury? Do coaches notice this and speak with them afterwards? And then he said also, Todd Father touched on this, do players rewatch games with announcers on? He feels like Ron Darling and Keith Hernandez offer so much specific insight for certain players and wonder if players like Lindor, Drew Smith, etc., listen to these things and never take them into consideration. Trevor looks like he's excited to answer this.
We're the opposite. No, we don't. No, you guys talk on the broadcast. They're rarely on, even when we're watching live, just because. And I have actually spoken about, because I did see where Todd was talking about it, and especially with the Mets guys, is like they are more critical than some. They tell it how it is, and broadcasts aren't for players; they're for the fans. And so, it's just like you just don't want to listen. Like it's just unnecessary. So you just kind of sometimes the radio is a little bit less critical because it's just you're not seeing what they have to explain what's going on. So that's most of the time. So it's like, no, you don't do that. But you can have conversations with those guys. Guys talk to Ron comes down, Keith comes down from time to time, like and they're willing to talk about it, and you can pick their brains, which is cool, which I think is cool. So if that's usually done in a one-on-one situation, at least there, which I think is the best way to do it. But yeah, we try to avoid, honestly, any young guy who's going up, I would say just avoid the commentators, like to play, with maybe the exception of the White Sox guys. I think that they're a little bit more of the positive group. And as you can see from this year, they're doing God's work over there.
Yeah, it's a tough gig.
Listen,
other than that, though, yeah, probably not. Don't listen to it. Yeah.
Well, okay, only listen when the national broadcasts are in, kids. Just for the record.
Yes.
Which ones?
Just when they're on Fox.
Okay.
Just when they're on Fox.
Any specifics? Any specific teams?
I mean,
like broadcast teams?
I mean, usually when I'm in town, you should listen because I'm probably not going to get very negative because we're there for one day and we're going to pump your team up no matter who it is, no matter how bad. I mean, I just had to do the White Sox Twins two weeks in a row. And we got very positive on both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, the Twins were 7-13. Now they're 15-13. So we got them hot.
You guys were right. You were positive about them.
That's right. And then the White Sox, I mean, we got them hot too. They won 3 games this week. So now listen, here's the thing about this. No, you don't really listen to him. We did listen to him a little bit here and there. We used to laugh because when I was playing for the White Sox, we had Hawk, and he would say some stuff. So we'd be like, can you believe what Hawk said? It'd be great. And then we'd be talking about it. But as far as Pete sliding into head first to home plate, that's always been a no-no for me. I think it's the worst thing you can do. You're just, especially, it's changed now because, I mean, catchers, and being a former catcher, we used to just set up on home plate and sit on dudes. So you were like, oh, you're coming in head first. You're going in the IL, bro, because you're going to get hurt. Shoulder, finger. This was before oven mitts. I mean, you were going.
Yep.
And guys were just new. Don't slide head first. That's why there was a lot of collisions, which is fine. So always slide feet first in home plate still, even with all this stuff, because you still see guys' thumbs, fingers, broken fingers, shoulders, because they hit the catcher's leg and just stops them. And then listen, I've always been a big guy, and I love what Trevor said that Ron and Keith come down, because it's always been a big thing. If you say something about somebody, we had it happen on here the other day, Henry Davis. I did a game, and he's like, you roasted me. And I was like, dude, no, I didn't roast you. What I said wasn't fair to you. You played right field for 8 innings. They brought you in to catch a guy that was throwing 100 that had no idea where it was going. I go, and you did look very good, but you also haven't caught. And he's like, oh, yeah. So be accountable. Like, if you say something about a dude, show your face, because the player will, if he hears about it, because parents and friends, call you, and then you go up to the guy and say, hey, Ron, you said this about me. What do you think? And then Ron gives his explanation, and you respect Ron for being there and saying, hey, here's what I think. And then boom, all done, move on.
Yep. I think that's cool. And it helps a lot for the broadcast. It brings more insight for them too. That's how they bring you
inside. Broadcasters have to be able to talk to the players, because that's how you get information for the broadcast.
Yes.
You're watching a team of 162 games. You're watching the A's last year, and Trevor May's out there pitching, and you don't know anything. You never go down and talk to the players. How do you know what Trevor May's thinking? You have no idea.
Mm-mm.
I don't know what he's talking about. He's always having pitch com problems because it's slow. Oh, well, Trevor May just told me that the other day. So you talk about it. It's cool.
Yep.
Like, that's the stuff you want to hear.
Yeah, that makes a good broadcast. Let's slap. All right, we did it. So if you're on here, you don't have to touch that, whatever, tablet, screen. Baseball America hot sheet coming up next, and there's been some call-ups too, so we'll go over those. And then apparently there's a Mets job posting.
Is this where Todd is Monday to Thursday every week?
They're looking for Mr. and Mrs. Met, new ones.
I guess.
Okay. The Mets are looking to hire a new Mr. and Mrs. Met. Wow.
Was the other one retiring?
Did the OGs break up? Here? Yeah. What happened?
I don't know.
Drama. You know how much it pays?
67 to 89. Definitely need a roommate in New York for that.
67 to 89K. That's roommate.
Yeah.
That's roommate territory for sure.
That's good coin.
Yeah.
You can make almost $100,000 potentially doing that.
Did you see Lucy's tweet? That's pretty
What'd
funny.
she say?
Sorry, babe, I can't tonight. I'm working on my Mrs. Met audition tape. That's kind of pretty funny.
That is incredible. Trevor, always great to have you on, dude. And by the way, we didn't say this at the top, but your hat is an A. That's a great hat. I mean, literally it's an A, but it's also an A. That's a great hat.
Hold on. I know we have to go real quick, but 2 things. One, Michael Kopech and Edouard Julian's birthday today. They're playing each other, so if they face each other, who wins the birthday matchup? You're supposed to hit home run your birthday. You're supposed to have a clean inning. I don't know.
Julian.
Okay.
I believe in birthday homers.
Pitcher goes Kopech. Shock.
See everyone Wednesday.